Welcome to Whiskey's a Journey. My name is Peter Fasciano. Today is Monday. I have a whiskey review coming at you. Today we're taking a look at the Penelope Cigar Session Chapter 1. Let's go ahead and pour it, nose it, taste it, talk about it a little bit. And then I'm going to add water to this. And if you stick around until the very end, I'm going to go ahead and give this a score. This, I believe, is close to one of the last videos in July, which means my July giveaway is coming to an end. I believe you have until 11:59 p.m. on the last day of July to enter into the giveaway. If you're interested, all of the rules to that are in the description below. And then if you like what I do here, like this video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Turn that bell notification on because I produce videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. All right. This is coming in at 101 proof. Now, there's a couple of things that I will be talking about a little bit later, but other than that, this is a blend of straight bourbon whiskey along with a 100% American single malt and an American light whiskey. It does have a mash bill. I'll talk a little bit about that later. It is aged. I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. It's a 750 milliliter bottle. And I paid $79.99, and I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, if you don't know. And I do believe you can get this a little bit cheaper. Now, I think they do mention that this is also non-chill filtered. A little bit weird about the label. Well, first of all, the label is really cool. And even though I'm not a cigar smoker, I really do think they nailed the label, 100%. That's really cool. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing on the nose. Straight up, this reminds me of a vanilla Coke or something that is in the Coca-Cola Dr. Pepper range. There's vanilla, there's a little bit of cherry, there is a sweet chocolate note that comes through, a slight amount of tobacco. But to me, the majority of the notes that I'm getting on the nose are going to be like a vanilla cream soda, Dr. Pepper, Coke, vanilla Coke, somewhere around that range. As far as the spice goes, I think there is a cinnamon spice here, but the sweetness is the dominant note on the nose. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing on the palate. Cheers, everybody. To me, I think this has a much more vibrant nose than it does a palate. All of those notes don't really transfer over to the palate. There's a little bit more of a bitterness. The chocolate, the tobacco, that vanilla Coke note is there, but it's really, it's really far in the background. And to be quite honest, it's oaky and there is too much bitterness for my liking. I know the cigar blends usually have some sort of cognac finish to it. There is a finish to this, but I'll talk about that in a little bit also. But the American single malt, along with that American whiskey with the straight bourbon, I don't know if that really melds together. Nothing is really standing out as a positive note, with the exception of a slight sweet chocolate note. Everything else on the tongue, it just saturates and turns bitter for me. I've had this a couple of times, and each time I'm thinking that I'm going to like it based on the nose, and then when it hits my palate, I'm just a little bit disappointed. Now, granted, this is going to be designed to be paired with medium-bodied cigars. I'm not a cigar smoker, so I can't comment on how this pairs to a cigar. If you have had this and you are a cigar smoker, please leave some comments down below if this is actually amplified with a cigar. And what type of cigars are you smoking when you're drinking this? All right, that was my very first sip. Let me get a second sip in, concentrate a little bit more on the finish. I'm going to add water to this and talk about the Cigar Session Chapter 1. All right, second sip, everybody. Second sip, I do get a little bit of a cherry note that comes through. There is a little bit more of an elevated spice as well. That cinnamon comes across as a little bit spicy. Ginger, black pepper. But then as soon as it hits that mid palate, it really does sink underneath the tongue. And then as it finishes, it just gets more and more and more bitter. Something that I'm not particularly fond of. I don't know if that American light whiskey and the malt are just not cohesive. They're not playing nice. And maybe along with that bitter oak note, maybe that's coming from the bourbon. I'm not exactly sure, but it's not cohesive. Now, I must say that complexity is not always a good thing. I think this is a very complex pour. You can sit here and dissect it because there's so much going on. But for me, all of the stuff that's going on is not the best thing. And I'm sure somebody out there or a lot of people out there absolutely love this. I just don't like how it's not coming together in a cohesive manner. Again, lots and lots and lots of flavors, but I don't think those flavors are mingling all that well. So there's a couple of things that I need to talk about, and I will be putting some stuff up on the screen so you can see it. Based on what they say on the label, there's a whole little excerpt or a little saying, but when you go to the website, there's some extra information, and I'm a little bit confused on why they didn't put that stuff on the label. Maybe they just didn't have room to put it. So based on the website, there is a bourbon component to this, and within that, it says that it's 6 years old and it is finished with French oak staves. The bourbon component has a mash bill of 72% corn, 15% rye, and 13% malted barley. Now, so I have seen reviews on this, and they talk about the age and the mash bill altogether, but I think the 6 years of age and that mash bill only go towards the bourbon portion of the bottle. The American light whiskey and the 100% malted barley, I do not think it is incorporated into that mash bill of 72% corn, 15% rye, and 13% malted barley. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments down below. And touching on the chapter, since this is chapter 1, that might mean they're not locked into a specific mash bill or a specific combination of those 3 whiskeys, the American light whiskey, the American single malt, and the bourbon. They might end up choosing to actually finish it in something different and actually make it a true cigar blend, even though I don't think a cigar blend has any legalities. I don't think there's any rules or regulations that say this is what a cigar blend has to be. I think being a chapter release, it gives them freedom to do what they want going forward. Annual release going forward, I'm not positive. And as far as this being a cigar session chapter 1, they actually paired up with cigar makers, and the name is escaping me right now, but they developed this in collaboration with master cigar blenders. And as they went through it, I'm guessing they were probably tasting along with smoking, and then it eventually came out that this is going to pair well with a medium-bodied cigar. And if you didn't catch that earlier, please let me know in the comments down below. If you smoked a medium-bodied cigar, what type of cigar was it, and did it pair well with this? All right, I think that's all I have to say. If you know anything else about this, please let me know in the comments down below. If I'm mistaken about the mash bill and the bourbon component, please correct me as well. All right, on the nose with the water, this is much more vanilla forward. I'm not getting those Coke notes or the soda notes. It is cherry and vanilla. Any amount of spice that I had with the water, the cinnamon or the ginger and black pepper is no longer there. It's just straight up sweet. I like this on the nose with and without water. Let's see if that transfers to the palate. See if there's something else to it with water on the palate. Cheers, everyone. So that's interesting. With the water, the malt notes are coming through. It got a little bit more spicy. That oak note is there. And not only is it also bitter, but now there is a drying component to this as well. The cinnamon, ginger, and pepper notes are all still there as far as that spice goes. I do have to say that I think it's a little bit more cohesive with the water. I think all of those notes are playing a little bit better on the palate with the water, but I'm still not digging the combination that is here. So let's go ahead and get on to the score. If you're new here, I'm going to rate everything out of 5 stars. Based on what I'm getting on the palate, I don't particularly care for this. This is definitely not something that is for me. Not only that, but the pairing of cigar and not being a cigar smoker, I know this is not a bottle for me. And since this is an entire experience, palate, nose, price, overall experience, I'm going to end up putting this at a 3. I don't think that it is bad, but the profile that it is giving me is not up my alley. I would put this at like a 2.9, but I think that is a little bit too harsh. So this is going to settle right in at a 3 for me. If you've had this, please let me know what you think of it. Are you seeing this in your area? What are you getting it for? And are you looking forward to the other chapters going forward? All right, that's all I have for you. So wherever you are at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it. And until next time, we'll talk to everybody later. Bye.